Thank you very much. Good. So I titled the talk "Things I've Learned About Creating a Premium Plugin," but I hope by the end it'll actually be why you should create a premium plugin if you're a developer or want to hire a developer, depending. Thanks. So a little bit about myself. So as was mentioned, I've got a course up right now. I'm working with JavaScript and WordPress that you can check out and watch for free. There's WordCamp Hamilton, which is coming up June 4th, so it's really not that far to head out, and there's still some tickets left. If you want to check that out. Like you said, the event calendar newsletter plugin is the only premium plugin I've got, and the slides for this are on the SlideShare, so don't need to take notes on the links. So, a bit of background on how it started. I run a couple different events in Hamilton, one for freelancers and also the WordPress meetup I help run. And a lot of them, they're promoted on softwarehamilton.com, which is a WordPress site that is sort of a hub for tech events in Hamilton. It's been running the last 5-6 years. Kevin Brown started. And one of our events at the time was flipping between the afternoon on a Saturday and the evening on a weekday, depending on the month. We'd kind of flip it just so if people can only come on weekends, whatever. So, but sometimes it would come up in the newsletter that Kevin was sending out as afternoon on a weekday, 2 p.m. on Wednesday. It's like, no, that's not right. So, he's volunteering and, whatever, so I wasn't like too annoyed about it, but I kind of asked him, like, are you creating these manually? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, there's probably some software that could help with this. Software Hamilton, after all, we should be able to automate some of this. So I kind of did some searching and was trying to find a way to generate a newsletter automatically from the calendar of events. And because he's running WordPress, there should be a plugin to do that. But we couldn't find anything that would actually do the format that he wanted. So he headed over to this pub. I took this picture before coming here one evening, and we headed over after this Coder Camp event, and we knocked out the first version of the plugin in a couple hours. And literally, I was sitting on that grimy-looking chair there, this one, coding it up in a couple hours with a pint or two. And apparently, this has become this exact spot in the Winking Judge pub in Hamilton has apparently become the startup hub for some reason. On this couch, with the dartboard up here, the 3 people were sitting on it and created this first version of this app while people were drunkenly throwing darts above their head, which I didn't think, which I thought was extreme programming to the next level. That's amazing. I would not recommend doing that. So yeah, so we got out the first version. It only worked with his specific event calendar. Pretty much only did exactly what he wanted, but it worked, and he was happy, and he didn't have to do it manually anymore. And I'm happy the times my events didn't get messed up, so it was a win-win. So I released it after he was using it for a bit. I released it on WordCamp.org so other people could use it, and yeah, some people were finding it. A few were using it. They were happy with it, but otherwise, they didn't really do anything with it except add support for a couple other event calendars on WordPress. Because the one he was using, I wouldn't recommend using just because it doesn't have mobile support and some other stuff. So fast forward a year and a half, and people are starting to find it, and they're asking for new features, including some organizations that I thought might have a bit of a budget for software, which is cool. So I asked myself, okay, do I keep adding these features and release it for free on .org, or do I kick up a pro version? And by this time, the plugin was getting like wildly popular, like almost viral. So I thought, that means that it could be like 1 million, right? Like it's just over 100, right? No. But I thought, okay, there's millions and millions of WordPress users, so if these people are having the problem, then chances are other people are willing to pay for it too, and it might be worth it. So, and really, what's the worst that could happen? No one ever buys the plugin. I'm completely shunned from the WordPress community. People literally laughing in my face. Family disappointed and yelling, "Why don't you get a real job?" Or people could find it, and I make some money for doing something that I was already doing basically for free anyway. And if it's something that helps me and it helps others, you know, and I know that it's something, you know, I believe that will save them a lot of time, and I believe in, then cool. You know, if some people find it great. You know, and I'll learn about also releasing a pro version of a plugin. Like I've had kind of startups and stuff, and I'll talk about in the past, but never a pro version of a plugin. So I'll learn about marketing, support, and all that good stuff. So I took the leap and launched a pro version of the plugin. And you know, the handful of people who said they would buy it did. You know, when it came out, more suggestions for time-saving features, you know, started coming in, depending. And you know, there were some brand new valuable additions that people were wanting or that I thought I should add, and I just added them to the pro version to make the pro version more appealing. And you know, then when someone asks, hey, can you do this? You know, maybe I add it, and oh yeah, sure, just here's the link to the pro version, you can go grab it. And the coolest thing was the first purchase. Like I had you know, a handful of people who were saying, oh, they buy it when this, you know, feature was added. And literally, just as I was about to send, you know, the email to these people, I get like an email saying there's a sale. I'm like, what? You know, I haven't sent out the thing. So it's a person who I think found it from my blog, you know, bought it, and I even emailed them personally, which I recommend you do for everyone, and they never replied. So I have no idea. So I'm assuming that, like, I checked their site, they're still using it. So I'm assuming they're happy. But yeah, I have no idea who they were. So that was pretty awesome. It's always good getting money from people you've never met. So all these things now is launched. Now there's all these things that I now need to worry about that I didn't with the free version. Things like support. So you know, I had the chance to go to Pressnomics recently in Arizona, and there's a lot of pro plugin authors and companies you know, that are there, and a lot of them echo the same thing, that if you get success, you know, congratulations, you're now a support company. Not like a development shop or anything. You know, people pay money for something, they have questions, and you should get back to them in a reasonable amount of time, typically. You know, so it's, you know, setting up a basic help desk system was kind of one of the things. Like, I didn't want to be replying to questions that were coming in from my personal email, and especially I didn't want to have the footer with my phone number or stuff like that. So setting up something where on my phone or anything I could you know, reply to it as, you know, info@eventcalendarnewsletter.com, and then they would get that reply and away they go. And then if the support, you know, when it kicks up even more, then it's pretty easy to just bring someone else in, and they can look at the tickets and they can reply to them, away they go. I also have you know, marketing. So I blew the dust off some of my marketing textbooks from university and looked back at going to basics on how, you know, how do I spread the word about the plugin. So this thing would be product. So what are you selling? A plugin, obviously. But what about services surrounding the plugins? Like, do you want to do customizations? Do you want to do any add-ons? Or is everything just going to be grouped together in kind of one plugin? Do you want to do multi-site licenses, or is it just one per? Do you want to do unlimited? You know, most people probably won't use, you know, thousands, but do you want to support that? So all that kind of stuff. Stuff like price. So what are you going to sell it for? You know, does it make, is it going to be worth the time to do it with the transaction fees of actually taking the money via PayPal or credit card, and other costs of doing business, especially if you start bringing in people for support. You know, assuming you get a decent amount of sales. Obviously, if you only get a couple, then, you know, it's a side thing and make some extra money. It's cool. And again, you were going to do the support on the free version anyway, so at least you get something. But yeah, if you do get a lot and you are going to get more support, is it going to be worth it at that price? And then promotion. So getting the word out. Obviously, a common model is the free version on .org, which then feeds into the pro. Do you have pro only? Do you try and get some media coverage? In my case, I started looking to partner with some of the calendar plugins that I was supporting, and recently added up all the total active users of the calendars I support, and ended up with that. So I'm like, okay, that's a lot of people. If I can reach out to some of their audience and see if they'll maybe do an affiliate program, or maybe they'll just promote it. So if people ask, hey, can you do this thing? No, but here's this other plugin that can. You know, so the people who have found it, they understand, and if they understand what it does, and you know, that'll save them time, they end up getting it. But really, people it's really now about getting more eyeballs kind of on the page, and people, making sure people understand what it does. GPL Fears. So WordPress is GPL, and which means it's open source, which means people can take your code, whether it's pro or free, if it's GPL, and grab it. Well, yeah, technically it should always be GPL, even if you don't explicitly say it is, because it depends on WordPress. Technically it's just GPL from that. So technically it's like someone could just take my code, copy paste it, I'm done. I don't know. So, you know, like people will steal the code. It's kind of how it is. Like you can't fully stop it. And as Daniel Espinosa, I believe, put it, you know, they can steal version 1.1 and they can kind of run with it. And then, you know, you keep going, and then, you know, you're now on 1.2 while they're still on 1.1 and trying to sell that because they might have modified it to, you know, rebrand it to their thing. And they lose my support, which is, you know, a big part of why I think people like the plugin. You know, I'm here to help them. And if they're just trying to make a quick buck, chances are they're not going to offer the same kind of support. You know, they're just throwing it out there or just putting it out for free. So yeah, but you can't fully stop that. It's just how it is. And then also distribution. So how is it going to be sold? Is it going to be on WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads on your own site? You know, are you maybe going to have put on a marketplace like CodeCanyon? You know, it's certainly a lot more work to set up my own site, but at least now I get full control over the marketing. I don't have to pay all the big fees. I think it could be, you know, 50% or more, or 30 to 50. So you get to keep a lot more of the ones you're coming in, but you also don't get access to that market. So it can be a little whatever. So yeah, I ended up going with Easy Digital Downloads, which I had to grab some licenses for and the add-ons and support. But it means I have control, and yeah, I'm not paying a marketplace, which is nice. So services. Do I offer services around the product? Maybe like a done-for-you install or customizations. And also kind of, you know, the balance between marketing or coding, you know, versus client work as well. If this isn't the only thing you're doing, is, you know, sometimes I spend the whole day trying to decide what's the next best thing that I could do, you know, and when to stop coding and when to market, and then vice versa, right? So, and then yeah, with the client work in there, it can be tough to balance, for sure. And terms and conditions. So, you know, when it's free, it's free. If you don't want to reply to support people, you don't have to. But things like, I mean, it's standards. Like even when you're doing services, you know, things like refunds, things like warranty, right? What happens if your plugin takes down someone's site? And it might not be even due to your fault. It might just be it conflicts with another poorly written plugin, and you know, yours just happened to be the one that they activated that conflicted with it. Support terms. You know, it shouldn't be this like crazy showstopper, and I'm not a lawyer, so don't you know, quote me on anything. But I mean, you should be able to add things like, you know, these terms could be updated. So as you update them, you know, they're aware that it could be updated. You can refine it, and obviously you're testing your code, so nothing bad's going to happen anyway, right? So I thought I'd end or the second bit with some kind of do's and don'ts in this. From my experience and from speaking with people at conferences like Repressed, because I don't want to scare you with all these like things, but a lot of the things that I was talking about, and we'll talk about, you know, a lot of it just involves your time. Like, yeah, obviously your time is valuable, but it's a learning experience. So, I mean, it's not like there's this huge cost to start selling a pro plugin, and it can be a great thing to kind of do and go through. And there's no one way to do it. So. Obviously, with everything, you take advice and see what works best for you. So, like I said, do take support time into account, but don't worry so much about the kind of support to sales ratio in the early days, because this is a learning experience. Your documentation might not be as complete or as full or cover everything that people have questions for. You know, and I actually read a post not too long ago by Nathan Berry, who did ConvertKit. Which is like an email sending program, and they kind of, especially even now, I think, offer kind of almost concierge service to get people set up. And I mean, their plans are pretty cheap to start. But what it did is, they learned a lot about anything they're having trouble with, but then also they become like, oh, this is awesome, like, you know, and they start referring to other people, and maybe even helping those people get set up without using your support. And then you're able to you know, build that audience a little bit faster, which is nice. And you get to hear, questions firsthand, like, can it do this? And you're like, well, not right now, but maybe on Friday, I'll post an update and then it'll do that. And it's probably stuff that you might not have thought about, but once you hear it, you're like, oh, that's awesome, yeah. This will save you and everyone else a lot of time. So do know where to draw the line between kind of features and support and all that stuff. You don't need to be available 24/7 and answer emails within 20 minutes. Like, this is just unreasonable. And you always have the option, if someone is being really unreasonable, to refund them, which is good. Of course, they'll leave a 1-star review on the entire internet, but what can you do sometimes? And I actually had a startup before startups were even startups, an online bingo game, which ran on this Pentium 200 MMX on a home internet connection. And a lot of times, it would just not stop working in the middle of the night, and I'd wake up to 400 emails being like, oh my god, where are my bingos? Please help. But then what was funny is that I would fix it, and then I would get 200 more emails being like, why, I saw it came back up, why didn't you personally tell me that it came back up? And I'm like, holy jeez, I can't believe it. So I mean, it's just like sometimes you just can't please everyone, right? So, but things like, are you gonna do customizations? And sometimes, that might not fit with your model, because now you're doing products and services at the same time. So it's just thinking about it, and obviously you can try it, and if you're just like, this doesn't work for me, then you can just stop doing it. It's your business. So don't panic, when something goes wrong and money is involved. I mean, people are usually very reasonable, especially if you answer your email and don't just ignore it. Though you should obviously be testing as much as you can before you push out any code. So like I said, do have terms and conditions, and you can look at other premium plugins to see what they are putting there for their terms and conditions. They're usually pretty standard. A lot of times they'll say, you'll get sites that literally have 100 plugins installed, so obviously it might not be your plugin that's at fault. So you've got to kind of spell out, just basically spell out, okay, you guarantee it'll work on a clean install of WordPress with one of the default themes. And beyond that, it's up to you whether you want to support any conflicts with other plugins. And sometimes the conflict is just something you can fix, and it might stop conflicts with other plugins as well. And also that, warranty-wise, like, there's no warranty. Like, if you install a plugin, like Jen was saying, and there's no backups at all, like, what are you doing? Right? Like, you need to be responsible for backups on your own site. So. Again, just take a look at the terms and conditions of other plugins, and you can use that as a base. So do get excited when you make money while you sleep, which is really cool, but do not think it will be passive income. I really hate that term, just because it is passive in the sense that the income is detached from your time, right? It's not, you'd be making sales not when you're sitting explicitly at the keyboard. But it's passive in the sense that you invested a lot of time into it before you got the sale, right? So, which is good, because then it's not like there's a bunch of people who are just like, I'm gonna download easy digital downloads, and I'm gonna hit a buy button, and then I'm done, and I'll make tons of money, right? It's like, no, like, you put in the time to make the product and to do the documentation, whatever else you need to do, right? And then that way you're able to, to make the money afterwards. So do set up a cha-ching sound on your phone when you get a sale. This was, I think, one of the #1 tips. There you go. That was, holy crap, that was amazing timing.
That was awesome.
Thanks, Adam. So yeah, it's just super awesome when you're literally sitting there, sipping a glass of wine or something, and you hear that, and you're just like, or you're at a dinner, and you're just like, hey, my dinner's paid for from the sale that just happened. So I mean, I know people who are making like thousands, a lot more than I am, and they just still have that sound, maybe not as loud, because it honestly does scare me for the first time it happened, and I was focused on something else, and that happened. But yeah, definitely set that up. There's a lot of plugins that can do it, and apps and stuff. So. Don't change pricing every day or panic when there's no sales for a couple days. Initially I had it at one price, and then some sales come in, so I upped it again, and then when I got those sales, and then I added a really valuable feature that a lot of people were asking for, so then I upped it again. But so when there's like a slowdown in sales, and I don't get any for a couple days, I'm like, okay, that's, should I price it down? Maybe it's too high. but you got to remember, if the higher price means that you get better customers who really value what you've put out there, and it means that you get either the same or more income with less customers. So less support costs and everything else, especially as it grows. So having a higher price can really be a benefit. I don't know how people sell plugins for like $9 or something, and actually support it in the hosting. It just, unless you're getting huge volumes, it doesn't, and no support almost, it doesn't make sense. So it doesn't really matter for people here from the States, but for us Canucks, definitely sell in USD, US dollars. It's, for good or for worse, it's kind of the default currency of the internet, at least in North America. And yeah, with our exchange rate, it's pretty nice. So definitely take advantage. Don't take features out of the free version. Such a bad idea. I did this for like less than a day once, because a lot of people were liking this feature where you pick how many event or how long in the future you want to pull events for, and I added, it was, I think a month was the minimum, and people had a lot of events. They wanted 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks. So I thought, okay, I put it in the free version for a bit, and then I'm like, okay, maybe this should be pro because people have a lot of events. Might want to, we'll probably be the ones who are picking, a 1 week, 2 weeks, so whatever. So I took it out, and then I'm just like, I felt so bad, and I put it back in. And I also got an email from someone who had originally suggested that feature and was using it, and then I took it away. Because you got to think, that's the worst thing ever, where you take people are using your plugin, they love it, they update it because you're supposed to keep your plugins updated, and now you just took away something they were using. So yeah, don't do it. And I even talked about it with a couple people who run, Syed, he runs Opt-in Monster and Vira Gallery and some other pretty big plugins, and he's just like, yeah, never do that. They will hate you forever. Do reach out personally to every single customer that you can. Like if you're not making hundreds of sales per second, there's no reason why you can't just send a little personal note to everyone. Like I don't have it automated yet. I just figure, I'm going to just send out a quick email. I'll look at what site they activated on. I'm like, oh, it's awesome that you're running this community website. Like if you have any questions, let me know. And then you'll just be able to get that feedback, especially in the early days from the early adopters, and know what questions they might be asking, so you can make your frequently asked questions better. Yeah, there's no reason not to send out an email. Do list all the things your plugin can do, and I still haven't done a full listing yet, but definitely one of the biggest takeaways from Pressnomics. Because you got to think, it's not this $5,000 monstrosity of a software, right, that people are getting. A lot of times you might be a developer or might be a site owner, and they're just looking for a specific feature that your plugin might have, and so they just scan the list and they go, yep, got it, buy. Like it's, if it's $50, $100, whatever, it's not, and especially if you have a refund policy, there's just no risk. 14 or 30 day or something. So yeah, just list all the features you can do. Obviously you should have the nice marketing copy and all the fluffy nice features, and this will save you time so you can spend more time with your kids or cats or dog or whatever. But a lot of times it's, they're just looking for a specific feature, so just list them. Yeah, don't expect to do just products immediately. It might happen quickly, especially if you got kind of a niche thing, but it might not replace all your freelancing or full-time job stuff right away. And I even know plugin authors who are making over $100,000 a year easy on a single plugin, but they're still working full-time because they're scared that as soon as they quit, they're going to lose all that income immediately. I'm like, I don't think so. It's growing, you're doing pretty well. But yeah, a lot of people just don't stop doing service stuff or working full-time right away. And one guy actually I chatted with a bit, he put it really well. He's like, you can survive a lot when you don't need to scale quickly. If this isn't this VC funded thing that you've got a bunch of investors and everything else that you have to appease, you're able to just experiment and play around and see how it works. And you can just do that as a side thing at first. Do ask for help when you need it. WordPress obviously has a great community of people who are willing to help out. So don't be afraid to reach out to ask for help, from other developers or support people or people who have other businesses. They're usually willing to kind of sit down and help. And don't wait. There's get an MVP out there. as soon as you can. You know, the smallest version that you think will save people time or make them money or something else, and get early feedback, you know, from actual paying customers, as opposed to people who be like, oh yeah, if you add all the 20 things, then yeah, I'll buy it. You know, then you go adding the 20 things and you spend so much time. So, you know, if you have an idea, there's nothing stopping you but a bit of your time. In the worst case, you'll learn something new. So here's some resources. There's the one talk a couple years back that Daniel did on creating WordPress plugins. I did a nice long tutorial specifically for plugins on how to start selling and using their software licensing tool with easy digital downloads. There's a really good article from Delicious Springs, people who do WP Migrate DB Pro, and a couple others, an S3 plugin, I think. Just on the difference between whether to do an add-on model, so a free core and then tons of add-ons, or to do like a bundled. And I'm kind of about the bundled mentality, but you do a good comparison. And then there's another, it's in French, I don't know if there's subtitles, but it was a really good short talk on essentially a lot of the same stuff of just, you know, don't be afraid to start. It's a bit of your time, and you kind of get it out there. And again, the slides are on SlideShare there. So thank you very much, and happy to have any questions.